I'm Eric Schumacher Rasmussen, the editor and VP of Streaming Media, program chair for Streaming Media West Connect. Behind the scenes, we've got Steve Nathans-Kelly, who's the editor of Streaming Media Producer. And soon we'll have Anthony Barocas talking about how to become a remote production ninja. But before we jump into that, just want to say thanks to everyone who's been attending the sessions this week. We've had a great lineup so far. We've had deep technical dives into things like CMAF and WebRTC for people who are into that sort of thing. We've had great discussions about business models and niche OTT players and sports and esports streaming, and everyone has been fascinating. And so I want to thank everyone who's joined so far, and thanks to the people who are signed up to watch today. Before we move on, we do have a couple more sessions, one more yet today, on streaming media ad tech, 2 tomorrow, on streaming monetization models and life after COVID-19, or I guess it's still during COVID-19. And then next week, we've got our Content Delivery Summit and several in-depth workshops. So go to streamingmedia.com/west if you want to learn more about those. I would like to thank our sponsors for this session. Epiphan and Matrox are sponsoring our session today, and I do believe we have a word from both of them. Steve, roll it.
Hi, I'm Cameron with Epiphan Video. Today, I'm going to share how our Pearl systems can benefit your remote productions. Pearls are incredibly versatile. They're video switchers, recorders, streamers, splitters, and scalers all in one. And they're designed to be easy to use, from the touchscreen to the browser-based admin panel, where you have total control. If you're looking for that live production Swiss Army knife, this is it. When it comes to streaming, you can use just about any protocol with Pearl. Not only mainstays like RTMP and RTMPS, but also HLS, MPEG-, and SRT. Being able to add an SRT source is especially powerful for productions that include remote guests. Because Pearls are SRT encoders and decoders, you can send SRT feeds from Pearls in remote locations, and receive those inputs to mix and switch between during production. The end-to-end control is one of the biggest benefits of Pearl for remote production. As a producer, I can log into a contributor's Pearl wherever it is and handle all of the pre-event setup and testing. This really helps reduce the chance of configuration errors and makes for an easier production overall. And you can always count on Pearl to perform consistently during your events. As hardware encoders, Pearl systems are more reliable than software encoders running on generic computer hardware. All the parts inside were designed specifically for video streaming and recording. At the same time, the Linux-based OS eliminates crashes and other interruptions that can happen with ordinary computer systems. If you'd like to learn more about Pearl and other Epiphan products, check out epiphan.com/products.
Thanks again to Epiphan and Matrox for sponsoring this session. If you have any questions for Anthony, you can submit them in the Q&A tab. We prefer you put them there. If you put them in chat, we'll probably see them, but the Q&A tab will make sure that we see them, and Anthony will see them directly, or I will see them and forward them to Anthony. We'll make sure to get your questions answered to the best of our ability. We had a great panel discussion this morning on live streaming in the new normal. And for the next hour, we're going to dig deeper into what that means. And one of the biggest things that means is that remote production has gone from being not on the periphery. It hasn't been on the periphery of the discussion. It's been, somewhere in there. But right now, it's in the absolute center of the live streaming discussion because everything is remote these days. And so we've got Anthony Barocas, who is a regular contributor to Streaming Media Producer, where we cover all aspects of live production. And Anthony is going to show you how to become a remote production ninja. Anthony, take it away.
There we go. Now I'm unmuted. Hello, everyone. My name is Anthony Barocas from Streaming Media Producer. Wait, do this. There we go. So I am not using Zoom. I'm actually using my remote production to do this talk. And I don't see any open questions. And I wanted to start out with, I have this really cool mouse pad. I love using mouse pads. And if you want this mouse pad, first question gets a cool mouse pad. I will send it to you. Anyway, a bit of background. I've been doing video production and broadcast multi-camera live switch stuff for 20 years. And I have a TriCaster, and the beginning of the year was going gangbusters. How can I get a mouse pad like that? All right, Sean, you win. You can get a copy of this. You can get this cool mouse pad in the mail. That's how you get it. What, John? Sean beat you to it. The TriCaster is a great tool that I've used for on-location multi-camera live switch production for years. It's solid, it's reliable, it's quick to set up. It's got a known interface for anyone that's come from a hardware video switcher mixer. And when COVID hit and all my gear was stuck at home, but people still wanted to produce and I needed to bring in remote people. The challenge was, at the time, how do you get remote content into a TriCaster? You could do it via NDI if you have a laptop, and then you need a separate laptop for each external device, which can get a little clunky. Or you could get the TalkShow 4000, which will give you 4 remote sources, and that will bring in 4 NDIs into the TriCaster. But the TalkShow 4000, on average, if you go to get it at retail, it's going to cost you $8,000. And that's a big chunk of money to pay to get 4 inputs. And so when I started looking around, there's Wirecast, there's OBS, there's a lot of tools. And I hope what I say here is applicable across multiple tools. I want to talk more about practices and concepts, although I use vMix as my tool, specifically because I can get 8 remote connections directly into my software for the $12.99, I think it is $1,200 package of software. So $1,200 versus $8,000. The cost effectiveness is there. The return on investment is there for me. If somebody is more familiar with Wirecast, go with that. If somebody is more familiar with Boink software, go with that, or OBS. I am not an expert in every piece of software because jack of all trades is a master of none. And so I hope to be able to answer some questions with regards to production itself. What I have set up here is I've set up sort of like a workflow, and I'll give you a look. This is the setup that I'm actually using to produce the show. This is the laptop I'm on. Over here, I'm looking at Zoom. Over here, I've got some content prepared. This is what I use to switch the show. Down here, I have a call coming in remotely. I mean, admittedly, it's not that remote, but it actually is using my hotspot. So it is actually going out over the cellular network. It's not coming in through my LAN. And I did that just because I wanted to make it a real remote connection. And if anyone is not familiar with how vMix handles remote calls, let me share my screen, the right screen. Over here on the right, I am going to actually share the center screen. This is the interface, and this right here is my remote call. I'm going to open this call manager up. And this call manager shows that I've got 2 remote calls built into the show. And I have a remote caller right here. And you can see 1280 by 720, 821 megabits a sec or kilobits a second. So less than 1 megabit, theirs is 1 megabit. So it's actually not, you can see it went red. It's actually not a great connection because really my hotspot is not doing super great here in the house. But this is how vMix will show you the status of your remote calls. And this will extend to the right and will show you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 remote calls. Plus, people can call when people are connecting. You'll see them listed here in this list. And if I need to talk to them, I can say, hey, please plug in your headset. And if they need to say something to me as a producer without them actually saying it into the microphone, then what this allows them to do is this allows them to type it out and it'll appear on my screen, and vMix will give me a sound alert in my headphones that lets me know that there's an alert. Let me go look at the chat messages and see what somebody is trying to tell me. That's a very handy feature because in as much as I can set up a back channel where I can talk to them, once their microphone is part of the show, their microphone is part of the show. They can't be like, oh, can you please cut to the, they can't say things quietly so that only I hear them. There's not like two buses coming back from a remote source. It doesn't work that way. So let me move this out of the way. And actually, I just close it. And part of what else I've got going on here is, let's just go back to the center shot. I've got all my main inputs here. You can see my cameras. I have one prepared for later. I've got my desktops and titles, and then I've got a couple overlays down here on the bottom. And here I've got my different audio mixes. And one of the key things that I'm using here to produce in vMix, but then output to Zoom or Teams or Skype or Google, whatever people want to use, as long as they can accept a virtual camera, whether it be coming from USB or whatever, as long as they can accept a virtual camera, then you can send out a vMix to your chat room of choice. The other key thing that I have set up over here is on the PC side, there is software available that allows you to connect different audio sources within the same laptop. And being able to connect different sources via a virtual audio cable is how I'm wiring vMix to Zoom. If you're not familiar with virtual audio cables, it's vb-audio.com, or you just search for virtual audio cables. And they actually give you the first cable for free. So you can download this one for free. Then you can order additional cables. Plus, they even have an audio mixer. I don't know why, but they call it Banana. So you can mix different sources, and they have potato, which is even more extreme than banana. And what this allows you to do is have your different sources and your different destinations all in a mixer, so you can manually adjust the audio levels as well, which is cool for apps that don't allow you to do that. If you are someone that has to go to Stream Deck, or is it Stream Deck? The one with the duck. Because it's browser based, it doesn't give you the capability like Zoom does of selecting an input and an output. Let me show you, because I will actually drag my Zoom window over here. Go to the right screen. So this is the Zoom window. Collapse that. Collapse. And then what you can see right here is I've got my microphone is the cable output coming from vMix, and the audio coming back from Zoom into vMix so that I can hear it is on cable A. So I've purchased both the free one and then A and B as well. So I've got 3 virtual cables to push sounds all over the place. And that has come in handy, for instance, in one event where the remote guest was not someone who was familiar with vMix, and when they tried to connect, they had firewall issues. And then we were like, well, let's just try Zoom just to try and troubleshoot things. Zoom didn't work. And they were like, well, why can't this just work like Teams? Because Teams works great. Why can't you just use a tool like Teams? Well, the only reason Teams works is because their IT department opened the specific ports for their version of Microsoft Teams to work. And they closed all the other ports. That's why the other things don't work, but Teams does. It's not that Teams is a better app. It's just that, you know, their IT department had opened those ports available. And so I was able to fire up Teams on the laptop on one screen, run it through vMix through the other virtual audio cable, and then out to Zoom, which is what the client was actually doing the seminar in. It was a lot of work for a laptop, and I would highly recommend using a desktop, because in as much as vMix and some of the other multi-camera live switch apps are able to leverage a graphics processor for handling things, the Teams and Zoom do not. So that is 3 answered questions. StreamYard, thank you, sir. I'm using the Stream Deck, which is why it's on my mind. So in this show, I have built it such that I can use the software to talk back to people who are on the remote call, and I can even feed them something different than program so that they're able to see each other, even if I'm playing back a video, which I find very handy in terms of getting people more comfortable, and they're able to communicate non-verbally with each other as if they were in the same room and always able to see each other, no matter what's playing on the screen behind them. I find that very useful. And just checking over here. Once again, any questions, please put them in the question and answer. I'm ready and able to do demos and troubleshoot things for you. Speaking of troubleshooting, one of the key things to being remote ninja is being prepared for when things don't work. For instance, I have a nice boom microphone that you're not listening to because the little Sabrent audio interface that the boom microphone was plugged into just decided to get all noisy today. And so I've unplugged it, and so I'm just using the webcam, which does not sound as good. But having that backup, being able to adapt on the fly and figure things out is the key. So continuing on, one of the key things I find useful in terms of making remotes work well is making sure that the guests that you are going to be bringing into the remote know what they need to do. And on my website, what I've done is I have a page called How to Look Awesome. And on the right here, I talk about different things that you need to do. Like, you know, is your location awesome? You make sure that you don't have a window behind you. Do you sound awesome? You know, using headphones, and if somebody has a good microphone, they can use that as well. Or if they have a USB headset with a microphone, that's even better, because then the microphone is right there no matter how they turn. And then, is your internet awesome? You know, check your upload speed, check your download speed, because that's my speed to them for the return feed. Know your settings. You know, working through people learning how to set their camera inputs, you know, because sometimes we'll send them a webcam for their laptop because built-in webcams don't look super awesome. And we'll send them a Logitech or whatever, and when they plug it in, it's still going to use the default built-in webcam, which is not going to look super awesome. Just as an example of that, this is my Logitech on top of my laptop. And this is a high-end gaming laptop, and the webcam that's in it, and I'm just going to show you a still image from a remote call that I was using it on. This is the webcam that's built in, and this is the Logitech. And hopefully that comes through on Zoom, the difference between blah and the difference between looking good. So, you know, I on my website, I say, I make you look awesome and sound awesome. And having an external camera makes a big difference, and getting the remote guest, walking them through how to select the remote camera, how to select their earbuds, or if they have an inline microphone. I have ones that don't specifically, so that it's using this microphone. But working with them so that they can look and sound their best is what I do. And this page on the website is the first thing that I send them so that they can walk through and know what to expect, know that they're going to need headphones, know that they have to, don't set up in the middle of the living room where kids are going to be running around and the big bay windows are behind them. We have to select a quiet location that doesn't sound like a box, and be in a space where they can control the sound, so we have the best sound. I explain to them the interface that they're going to click into. And if you're going to use Wirecast or Vimo Live or something like that, you can, obviously your instructions would be different here. So this is configured for the tool that I choose to use, and it shows the interface buttons right here that they'll look at, and then down the bottom, and just, I have some technical information in case they have an IT department. They can like copy and paste this and give it to them. And that is something that I send to each remote guest for my shows, so they have a heads up. I want them to look good. It's not always as easy as I would like it to, but by, help you, help me to help you is in essence what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give them the information so that they can make choices before we've even connected as to a place that's going to sound good, a place that's isolated, a place that has good light. Put a table lamp in front of you. Like, I have a lamp in front of me. If I turn it off, don't look as good. If I turn this up, it looks better. So having good lighting, all of that helps make remote guests, and obviously guests in front of cameras, look better. I have a question. Are you using Stream Deck with the native Elgato software or more advanced softwares like Bigfoot and Companion? If so, what are you controlling Zoom with? Okay, I am using the native Stream Deck. I have not delved into Companion just yet, but I hear it's super awesome, especially in terms of leveraging more capability across multiple tools. So right now I am controlling Zoom with my mouse, and I am controlling vMix with the Stream Deck. Another question, outside of Logitech, do you see GoPro 9 and Insta360 as good options, or too complex, talking in the context of remote guests? An Insta360, I guess you're talking about the Insta, like GoPro camera, and not the 360 spherical camera. I think they're good options. They are probably better cameras than the built-in webcams for sure. Will they be too wide angle? Because they're really designed to be wide angle sports cameras. Will they be too wide angle for what you need? One great camera that's very useful is the Logitech Brio, because it's a 4K camera, so it has all this extra resolution, and then it's able to give you deliver multiple viewing angles. So you can have a really wide view in a Brio, or you can set it to a medium or a more telephoto view, so you've got like a nice portrait look. This one is just the C950 and 920. This is the C920, and this is the angle that it has. I mean, I can zoom it in vMix a little bit, but this size is about all I really need. As you can see right there, I am cropping the right just a hair because there's something up in the corner over there. And lighting suggestions for lighting devices, low to medium priced. People like ring lights, and they put them right around the camera, but that really creates this odd roundish glow. I mean, yes, it's a simple bulletproof solution for illuminating the face of someone, but what gives drama to a face is a brighter and a darker side, so that you have depth to it. You can see shape and shadow to it. What I have is I have a $59 F&V Z light, Z95 light. It's a LED light, mag mounted to my desk, and it's actually bouncing off of a white card, so it's softer. But a camera top light, all those little camera top lights that you see, I mean, a lot of them have actually taken to advertising specifically for webcasting and streaming, and they're like, look, you could just put it right on top of your laptop, just where the webcam is. Except It's this strong, sharp light in your face. You know, if anything, a big table lamp with a big lampshade put off to the side, but mostly in front and turned up with a 100-watt light, that's going to be this nice, bright, soft light that illuminates a person's face. And that's really what you want to do, is you want to illuminate all of them, not just have this thing banging in their face. Like if I turn this around, you don't want to do that. But doing this is better. SRT has less compressed audio. Wouldn't it make sense to try larynx or Havish and play? SRT is awesome. I'm not using it. SRT is an awesome tool for one-way communications. And if all I needed to do was to get a remote feed from a camera operator, SRT would be an excellent tool. But when I'm doing remote shows where I have 5 guests, just lay people, remotely connecting into my show, I need the ability to talk to them. They need the ability to see the show. And if you use SRT as a source, you're still going to need to send them something. So I'm using the built-in capability of the software to both receive and send and do the mix minus and all of that. Yes, SRT is a great tool. It's a wonderful tool. It's a very robust solution. It is very high quality. You are, the audio that you're hearing in Zoom is actually, you know, it doesn't matter how good the audio is coming into me on vMix, because Zoom and all the other business chat apps are optimized for voice. So they're just going to just put this narrow band filter over top of it. But you can compensate for that. For instance, we'll take a poll. I am currently EQing my voice in vMix. So this is with the EQ, and this is without the EQ. So you tell me if EQing makes the audio sound any better or worse. You can either do it in the chat or in the questions. Do it in the chat, because we'll leave the questions for questions. And if I turn on the EQ for each of my remote guests, I can make them sound better. I also have a compressor running. I also have a noise gate running. So when I stop talking, it cuts the background noise. Obviously, I've got a laptop, so there's going to be the laptop fan and everything else. So, and there's filters that I can run. You can download various filters, put them into your mixing software, and shape the sound even better for delivery. Now, if I'm delivering directly to YouTube, they're going to get exactly what I'm delivering from vMix or Wirecast or whatever software. If I am handing it off to a business communications app like Zoom, the Zoom is going to do their own processing to it after me. So I can't make my audio get to the listener through the business chat apps. I've turned off original sound, and now I can turn on original sound. So we'll see if that makes much of a difference in Zoom. Let me close this. Are you using vMix Audio Bus for the TALKBACK? Yes, I do. And I have an article. If you haven't already, there's a great article on streaming media producer called Remote Live Production, the Age of COVID-19. And I go into depth as to how I've built my remote shows, specifically talking about multi-buses within the software so that I can have a TALKBACK channel to my guests. My guests listen to the TALKBACK channel. I am on a different channel, so I don't hear myself speak because there's a slight processing echo or a processing delay. So it's hard to hear yourself with an echo in your own ears. And I talk about the various hardware, but the key is using multiple buses. As you can see over here, I've got A, B, and C going on. A is actually the return from Zoom, and this is soloed. So this is the one that I'm listening to. I'm not listening to myself talk. I don't need to hear myself talk. It's coming out of my own head. I don't need to hear it in my headphones. And then I have the audio microphone, which I'm not using. Here's audio cable A out. So this is the audio coming back from Zoom, and this is heading up to bus A so that I can listen to that because I have it soloed. And then I have other inputs as well. This is the webcam. Then I'm coming in, and obviously, like I said, this is the audio microphone, which I've disconnected because the audio interface decided not to work right. Let's see, do you find it necessary for vMix callers to have headphones? Is there no echo cancellation? There is echo cancellation in vMix, and it works maybe a little bit too well, which is why I always recommend headphones. And I can hear it in Zoom too. When I'm in Zoom groups and multiple people are talking, what happens is the audio of multiple people comes out of the speaker, goes into the microphone, and Zoom, whatever, the software tries to cancel that audio from going back into the system and creating a loop. In so doing, it cancels your audio, which is going into the microphone. So you get lost in the mix of cancelization. The same thing happens with vMix. If I just have 1 or 2 people talking, I don't have to worry about it. They don't have to wear headsets. But if I've got a panel event with 4 people and they might laugh and talk over each other, you know, or I have a host who needs to interrupt, unlike a political debate, and it's hard for the system to know which is his voice and which is the sound coming out of the speakers to cancel it. It doesn't know my voice versus the sound coming out of the laptop. It just knows sound. And it tries to cancel the sound coming out of the laptop through inverting it or whatever processing, but it also catches some of my audio in that, and I will end up sounding garbled. If I wear headphones, then there's no other audio going into the microphone for the system to try and cancel, and the audio coming from my microphone always sounds good. And that's why I always recommend headphones. I'm using them now, even though I don't have to, but it was good when we were like dialoguing before the program for me to hear them this way, and they could hear me cleanly as well. So thank you for the questions. And to the person who had that first question, Sean, you can email me, Anthony at stream4us, or Anthony at stream4us, and I will get you that mouse pad because you're the first person to ask. And I didn't specify what type of question, so that wins. And I'm going to take a picture too. So thank you all for the questions. I will continue on. Now, another hurdle that a lot of people have, 33 minutes, I'll have to go faster, that a lot of remote guests have is presenting slides. The most reliable and highest quality way of presenting slides is give me the slides, I will hit next. That's because if they originate with me, when they go out on YouTube or whatever, they're going to look great. Zoom and other business meeting apps, so when I say Zoom, it's that class of apps, they cheat. They're optimized. They don't cheat, they're optimized. So what they do is, if they're doing video, they're heavily compressing this video, and they are sending it out as video with multiple frames, but a very low resolution. If you take slides, let's just go here, slides, like I've got a show that I did just recently. Let me go forward to let's just go to, have you ever had somebody in a slideshow? Oh, apparently I have to go back a few. Oh, they're populating, hang on. Slowly populating, there we go. Have you ever had somebody in a presentation put up a slide with lots of text? As video on your end, this is going to look pretty bad. And this is because Zoom is treating it like video. It's treating it like a camera. And I'm handing it off to Zoom, and Zoom doesn't know its slides. If you were to do a slide share within Zoom of the same content, it's going to look better, because Zoom is going to make that a higher resolution, at least 720p, but 720p like 5 frames a second, or maybe 1 frame a second if it senses that nothing is moving, because it's prioritizing clarity over time, resolution. Like moving my hands, this is smooth because it's prioritizing frames per second over resolution of the frame. That's why when doing things, it's a bit of a challenge to make sure that your slides are going to look super awesome if you are going to hand the video off to a business app. And it doesn't matter which one, because StreamYard offers right? StreamYard. I'll go back and check my answer. StreamYard. StreamYard offers 1080p now, but still there's processing going on to make a screen share look better than the camera input. And that's just the way it is. So there's many ways around that, but if you're sending to Zoom, you might want to do a split, you know, where you have a second device with the slides and you have all your videos, and then if somebody's just going to present slides, they're just going to do slides. But if somebody's going to do a picture-in-picture like this, then you're going to want to optimize your content for the lower resolution. So that means, you know, work with your clients so that they don't have text-heavy slides. You know, other slides like this one, this slide is going to look great because it's very easy to compress, it's very easy to send. But if they're going to do very text-heavy slides, it's not going to work. So most of the slides in this show were very lightweight because we were sending this out via YouTube, but we still wanted to make sure that they were very clean and wouldn't suffer very much from heavy video compression on the slide content. Right now, that content is coming from my laptop. This is over here, and this laptop is not wired. It's actually wireless at the moment, and it is coming over via NDI into the input right here, number 8. And that is how I'm bringing in the slide deck into my mix. And in so doing, by doing that, what you can do is you can use other tools like Internet Clicker is just one of many tools. There are other out there, so I'm not saying this is the one to get. There's a class of apps. There's half dozen apps out there that all will help you hand off the clicking to the remote guest. And I've used it. It actually works pretty good. What it does is I run Internet Clicker on my laptop or any software. I run the software on my laptop, and what it does is it creates, you know, it searches the web, creates a connection between itself, and then I give a code to the presenter. They go to the website. They go to the website here, and let me go back one. And when they come to this website, they just type in the code that I've given them, and then Internet Clicker automatically connects them to my laptop directly, so that this way, when I activate the slide presentation, they push like the next button on their, they push the next button on their laptop or their phone. This is actually really handy. They just push the next button on their phone and it will automatically advance the slides. If they're not able to see a return feed, you can actually activate a return video feed or a return slide feed back to the device that they're using to advance the slides. And that is because the video mixing apps, as far as I'm aware, don't have the ability, like business chat apps, to accept both a camera and a slide share from the same device at the same time. There's workarounds to make that happen, and I've tried those workarounds, but then if I have somebody who is, you know, case in point, it was like a week ago, and this woman was going to be, I was producing a show, and the remote presenter had, you know, just a handful of slides, 5 slides. And we had connected their camera on their laptop and then shared the screen. And then when they made the screen full size, so because we're sharing the screen, not the app, we're sharing the screen, then it went full screen with the slides that are being presented and not her notes. And she needed to read the notes to talk about what was going to happen. So here's this slide that comes up. It has a nice graphic. And then she says, and this person, da 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 da, and this person, da 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 da, and all this content she had written in her notes. And when she's sharing her screen, she can't see the notes because she wasn't using a 2-screen device. And so the solution was, give me the slides. I do them from here. And then she could have her notes up on her laptop, still sharing her camera, but she's able to read the notes in her slide presentation, but looking at the presenter notes. And then I'm advancing the slides here. And then she could just go in on the next slide. We can see that our program today, and on the next slide, Here you see, next year's program, and on the next slide, that's as easy as that. But I know there's a lot of people out there who don't want to say the words, and on the next slide. They would rather find a workaround so that they can physically click a button. So that's why, I mentioned solutions like Internet Clicker, and there are several other apps that will do that and allow you to have the slide deck locally, like I have here on an NDI laptop, and then they can go next and reverse and next and reverse as they see fit. This mouse pad is exciting. Can you say the email address again? Anthony at stream4.us. It's right there. And a lot of times I find that they feel more comfortable feeling like they have control, and making your remote guest comfortable and feel comfortable is very important to having a good show, because if they're not comfortable and they're very anxious about things, any little problem will be amplified. Like the guest that I had, who, when vMix didn't work, that made them anxious. When Zoom didn't work, they became more anxious, and why can't it just be like Teams? So you know what? I'll just make Teams work for you. And that was the only guest in an entire 2-day event that we did that for. But they wanted to do it, and we needed to make it work. And the client was happy because their guest came in and they could control the slides, and the guest was happy and comfortable, and everything just became a lot easier when the guest was not super anxious. And that's another really good way to make sure that your show goes well, is to make your guests feel as comfortable as possible. You don't need to answer all questions in real time if you don't have to stuff to get to. Up to you. Why does the entire video frame only take 1/4 of the screen? Entire video frame taking 1/4 of the screen. I don't know which video frame you're talking about, because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screens in front of me. So you have to elaborate, and you can ask that in the question and answer so that we can then clear it, move on. Universal presenter remote. Yes, Alex Jacobs posted another solution in the chat. I'm going to post this one, copy, and I'll run over here to all panelists and attendees. Paste. There you go. That's the Internet Clicker. Make it easy for you. Another good solution for doing remotes is to really know what your machine is capable of. And a great way to do that is the task manager. And if you're on a Mac, the Mac has a solution like this too. And what I'm doing is I'm going to enlarge this window a little bit and share a second screen. So over here, I've got the task manager, and it's showing me that right now, with 1, 2, 3 live cameras coming in, and multiple overlays, and all in the NDI and the 2 desktop captures, I am only using 61% of the CPU of this laptop. I'm only using 10 gigabytes of memory out of 30. The disk is hardly being used. Ethernet, obviously, Ethernet's being used because it's all coming in and out over the internet, including the remote camera. This one down here, this is the remote camera. And the GPU is being used as well. Down here, I'm using 30% of the GPU, and that's vMix is leveraging the GPU for doing certain things. And that is pretty important to have this understanding as to what's going on. I should put you back over there. To have this understanding and know that here's your memory, here's the Ethernet usage, here's my GPU. And by assessing this, like if I get up to 90%, then I'm asking this machine to do too much, and I'm going to have problems. If my Ethernet is too high, or if I have maxed out the memory by running too many different applications, then I'm asking too much of this machine. So people are like, well, I have this old laptop from 2 years ago. Can it do it? Give it a shot. There's free trials of every app, and you can give it a shot, see how much it taxes that CPU and the GPU, And that way you can see if that laptop can do a simple show or how complex a show that laptop can do. You know, for example, from testing, I know that the limit for this laptop is 5 call-in remotes. At that point, I am using up the CPU and I can't take a 6th or 7th or 8th in this device. But if I'm doing 3 or 4, I'm good. I know that because I've tested it, I've assessed it, and I know what my software and hardware is capable of on this device. Any recommended running specs for running vMix from your experience? vMix website has a list of builds, and specifications. You can go build your own. I bought a gaming laptop because it's all about the GPU for this, and I also edit with Premiere on here, so it's all about the GPU. Do you recommend VideoGo with cellular modems or something else for remote streaming? I asked because I saw you reviewing that unit. The VideoGo is a great solution for, I like it if you want to offload your streaming. Now, the VideoGo would not be a solution for pushing to Zoom because that's going to happen in the laptop. The VideoGo is a video in to the cloud solution. So you're taking the video out from your device, the program, handing it off to an external encoder. So you're not asking the laptop to do it. So kind of relates to what I was talking to before. If I was recording on here and I was also streaming on here, that CPU and GPU usage would go up. Right now, I'm just handing it off to Zoom, so I don't have those demands on my laptop. If I just wanted to take that demand off, I could hand it to a VideoGo, get bonding, which I can't do in my laptop, and send it off to YouTube or wherever using Teradek Core or any hardware that does bonding external from the computer. I've then separated the two tasks and it lightens the load on each device. I'd like to do a 2-camera switch show from a remote location. We have coaching instructional presenter in New York. We'd like to set her up with 2 cameras I can switch from our studio in LA. Definitely you can do that. And if you have someone on site who can assist with the setup, you can connect real cameras into vMix and send those 2 remotely. You could also use SRT as was asked before. If you can use SRT hardware and send those things directly to you with a great video quality, and then use just a conference call or Skype or something like that to talk back. The person wouldn't be able to see the program because if it's going out to the internet, there's going to be a delay before it comes to them. So there's multiple ways to work around that, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of remote, what they call REMI, remote production where the cameras are all remote, but then they're coming into a central location, or they're even just going into the cloud. And I, from here, would be operating a software mixing solution in the cloud. Because if the cameras are all SRT, they don't have to come down to a physical piece of hardware. I could have the software running in the cloud. And I could be, just have the control surface here. And then I'm not asking my laptop to do anything really hard. Some other, cloud computer with a lot more resources and a lot more bandwidth is doing it for me. So, if you set up a really big instance on, AWS, then you could handle lots of remote content coming in and playbacks and pictures and all of that, and not have to worry about like, oh, I've hit my ceiling really quickly. Is there a way to let another user handle audio favorites in vMix? Yes. You can use a control surface. Like, you could use a control surface. I actually don't have one because a lot of the talk shows that I do, we bring the people in early, and I set up all my audio, while we're doing tech checks and while we're doing pre-show, and I get all the levels set. And then for the most part, I don't have to touch it during the show. But I have worked shows where people, a second set of people were coming in for another remote while one remote was going on. So having an assistant off to the side was able to talk to those people and adjust it. You can assign the faders and everything to a control surface and put that in front of them. You can even take the center. You can even take this audio control panel and put it someplace else so that they can see it over there. The thing you can't do is you can't give them the mouse because you still need the mouse unless you are completely, you know, comfortable with the control surface. Like if all I needed was this to switch the show, then literally I could give them the mouse and have them mix the audio over there with the mouse, and then I could use this just to punch the show, because literally all my cameras and everything are in this control surface. So I'm not touching the keyboard on the computer to do this. Do I have experience running vMix in the cloud? I actually don't. I'm gonna, you know, admit I'm not the expert in everything, so I haven't set up vMix in the cloud. I don't routinely run vMix in the cloud. I have handled remotes coming into my studio and other studios, and you know, as many as 8 remotes all going through one machine, and we've got a big fat pipe and a honking big desktop, and you know, the desktop didn't even breathe hard. The fans did not even ramp up in the desktop, and you know, we had 300 megabits up and down, so we had plenty of bandwidth. And as much as you do on your end, the thing you can't do is you can't solve for the other end. So you know, if somebody else is going to connect on a laptop that, you know, just has 100 base T, and they insist on being Wi-Fi, and they've got a lot of stuff going on in their house, and you know, their connection, you know, that you can see through the call interface is going to fluctuate. It's going to go up and down. And I'm just bringing that back together. And that is not going to be a way that you can help them unless you literally send them, you know, a modem to go with it, and you know that modem's going to work. But you know, people might not, you know, like me, I don't get fantastic up and down numbers in the house. So if there's like, oh, I'll just turn this on and I'll have 40 megabits up. I don't get 40 megabits up when it's in the house. So if I put it outside, it works great. If I put it in the house, it does not work as great. As you can see, if I cut to my call, this is my call, and it's coming through my hotspot. And it's frozen. So there's only so much you can do, save trying to get the remote caller to have better bandwidth. You can do only so much on your end, but it's still dependent upon what they've got on their end. Have you had any experience with Reb RTC? Currently looking at OBS Ninja for bringing in guests remotely. Latency quality look great, but I haven't seen any problems yet. Web RTC is what almost all these tools use. If it's web browser based, which is what vMix call is, and what I think Wirecast uses as well, and probably OBS, that's web RTC. That's the engine, that's the standard they're using in the background, which is why these things are limited to 720p, because they're browser based, and you know, expected to use a webcam. There's ways to get around that. You know, one is SRT. Another is, if you have someone on the opposite end, you can leverage an instance of vMix on their end and send a 1080p feed at 4 megabits a second. And I have to say, that looks awesome, because someone had me as a guest into their show, and I just used vMix on my end and sent them connected to their show with my instance of vMix. And I was able to send them a solid 4 megabit stream up without an issue that they were able to watch. Video Go review. Oh, thank you for that, Steve. Marty, can you clarify in the Q&A? Are there specific cameras that support SRT? Supposedly, JVC just came out with a new 500 series that has SRT built in, which is pretty slick. Most cameras don't have SRT built in. Some have NDI built in, and you could look at BirdDog has an NDI cloud. I think NewTek has a solution as well, so that you can then have that device connect to NDI cloud, and then from NDI cloud, pull it down to your device. But again, like with SRT, it's a one-way interface. You're not sending a return video feed to them. And while NDI is a bidirectional protocol, and like if you had a pan tilt zoom at the other end, you should be able to control it. There's latency going through the internet to do that. So it's hard to control something that's moving when by the time I see it and then I say stop, the stop command, it's already moved further ahead. And by the time my stop command gets there, it's even further ahead. So you end up with this, you know, tennis match trying to get it to go where you want it to go. So it's a challenge. Good cell bonding for remote network connection that can create Wi-Fi without broadcasting, i.e. not made by LiveView. Good cell bonding solution for remote network connection. PepWave has some devices. There are some hardware devices out there that will take multiple SIMs and provide a bonded connection. And we just, you could look for bonded cellular router. And Teradek also has the Link Pro, which has 4 nodes that you can connect. It used to be 4 networks, but now there's only 3. And that way it will actually share a data connection and an internet connection, which you can connect to multiple devices, as opposed to the Video Go and the Live View, which are video in devices and sending the stream only. There's no data being shared to other devices. So yeah, I think that is a great need, and there are solutions out there. It's just not a low-end solution. It's a fairly high-end solution. And then also you have to consider, like, if you've got, AT&T and T-Mobile, and well, you can't buy Sprint anymore, and T-Mobile and Verizon, and you've got those 3 cards in there, or a couple of those cards in there, then you're paying for all those data packages every month, whether you use it or not. There's not that many pay-as-you-go with unlimited data, so it's a catch-22. If you've got a truck and you're using it regularly and it's just part of the process, it's an easily billable overhead item. If otherwise you're on a gig by gig basis, then it becomes a little bit more problematic. So thank you for the questions. I've got 4 minutes left. I'm always available. You can send me an email to, let's just go here, stream4us.com. And like I said, I've been doing this. I didn't get into a couple other things that I want to talk about, but that's the nature of the thing. Hopefully I have been able to answer your questions, and hopefully I have been Zcam E2C. I have been able to illustrate a couple workflows that help in terms of making your remotes go smoother and be less problematic, and you're able to make your guests look awesome as well. I have no open questions, and I believe Eric is going to jump in.
Thank you very much, Anthony. That was terrific. And yes, obviously we could have gone on and on and on with questions, but you just told people how to get a hold of you. So I imagine you'll get a few questions via email now that this is wrapped up. So once again, thanks, Anthony. Thanks to everyone for the great questions. And thanks to Epiphan and Matrox for sponsoring this session. We will be back with Streaming Media West Connect in a little over an hour with a panel discussion looking at streaming advertising technology. So I hope to see some of you then.